Well, hello there, YouTubers and tuberettes alike. It's a short talk in the trailer park with you-know-who, an old guy. And what do old guys want to talk about? I don't know. How about what kind of beer we're drinking? What kind of pizza we're eating? We can talk about other stuff. I got to thinking about the entry this morning or whenever it was about the SSA, and it's just their infinite waiting time. And I got to thinking, Mike, I think you could do a little bit better than that. If the goal, if the ambition of this series of videos is essentially the good news that the church either doesn't want to tell or has forgotten how to tell or would rather not tell, there's good news in a lot of things that, when you look at it, you think, look at the DNC convention. What a zoo, what a circus, filled with clowns, liars, and perverts. But that is actually good news. If the question is, can man rule himself with integrity and dignity according to truth, if he cuts himself off and stiff arms away from himself, his maker, his mighty maker, the I am who is? Can he, if he stiff arms and distances himself and minimizes his maker and pretends he doesn't remember that the maker is around all the time, then what you get is the results we have: the corruption, the lies, the insanity, the Marxism, the feminism, the globalism, the desire to upgrade humanity to human 2.0. I was talking the other day with the pastor at church after Sunday school, and we were talking about the image. That was his topic in class. And I said, later on, I said, I didn't want to try to hijack your class, but in my opinion, along the lines of the image, this transhumanist cult right now that we're seeing in this world, it's the single most dangerous cult in the world, by far. Even more dangerous than the communists. And yet nobody seems to grasp it. Nobody seems to understand what this thing holds in its little greedy paws. And it's the idea being your very humanity is at stake, your very humanness. And so I got to thinking in terms of the boldness, how do we speak forth? And I thought, so much of what's happened in my life is, let's face it, I'm a Calvinist. So if you don't like that, well, too bad. But here's the way I interpret Calvinism, okay? So if you and I can agree here, then maybe we can put the names to bed for a little while and just visit as humans, okay? But the idea is that we have the God who is, was, and ever shall be, who decreed from beforehand all that was to come and is now occurring and shall happen in the future. In other words, he decreed the entire set of comprehensive knowledge about what everything would happen. In fact, that little toe vibration right there, when I moved the camera, that was part of the set that was built in. And so, in other words, the fact is that as human beings, we are given the gift of faith in Messiah Jesus. And so, with the gift of faith, we are able to look at this situation right here, right now, called old Mike Labor talking about who knows what in the middle of the night. And the good Lord knew from before things that this would happen. This little parlay right here, you and me and whoever else tunes into this. And so, in other words, the good news is written everywhere. Reality is owned by him. Every moment is built and owned and operated by him. Every living creature is his creature. All of the air that is his air. And we have it on loan for a few years. In other words, he's the center of everything. He's the inhabitor. He's the inventor. He's the designator. He's the supreme king and conqueror. He's the emperor himself. However you want to call him. I don't know if emperor is such a great word, but in other words, the king for sure. But the idea is that our brag is about him, and in this moment, right now, it is now. But wait a minute, that just went by. In these moments, as they pass, they form moments in our mind, little bubbles, little units. It might be 10 seconds long, it might be 40 seconds long, it might be a minute and a half long. But later on, you will remember a small subset, and we'll call that a moment. And a moment can be very powerful because it's at that time, right now, that he breaks through into our world. In other words, we look ahead kind of wistfully for a breakthrough of God in our lives, and I'm having my miracle, whatever. I don't think that's the right way to handle that. The reality is He has already broken through. The fact of that is proven by you realize and trust Him to be who He says He is, the King of the Jews. By the way, there's some good stuff out there on the algorithm right now, Dr. Turley and otherwise, about the shroud at Turin, and it might be worth looking at. Anyway, the point being is that in our bold talk of that there is good news, the good news is that He's never surprised, but He accepts us as we are in our weakness, and so we don't have to try to be smarter than we really are. We don't have to be more well stated and florid of speech. We don't need to be more handsome and have bigger eyelashes and stuff like that. Before He accepts us based upon His goodness, based upon His total and what's the right word? It's like invincible love. His love just doesn't stop, and so His love to us is what stirred us awake, and it's stirred us so much that we've even begun to say back to Him, "I love you, sir," and in fact, I do worship you, Mr. Almighty, the I am who is, the God of the Bible. We value and treasure you above life itself. See, in the good news right now, we're able to speak to Him as we really are, as human beings, aware that in this moment, He called us to this moment just to remind us that He's here, He's with us. So I really like this idea. It's that in the moment we meet Him. And in other words, if you want to push this off for the future and say, oh, well, I'm not really very smart now, I'm not very clean, and I don't really want to be around Him until I straighten up and fly right, well, that's never going to happen, okay? You're never going to straighten up. But the other thing is that's pushing it off into the future, right? Or there's people who have what they call mountaintop moments, and I've had a few mountaintop moments myself, and some of them can be rather alarmingly good. But if you're always looking back to a moment, to a time where you felt or knew especially well that God was near and in and with you, and over your situation, you were safe, you were in good hands. And how was that 10 years ago? Was that 20 years ago? I don't know. But in other words, some people are looking forward and some people are looking backward. But what I'm saying to you now is that it's in the moment that we meet the Master. He comes to us here in our lives, and He interrupts our lives, and He says, see, it's me. It's the one who's been calling you all along. It's the one who's invented you, the one who gave you life. He's our Father in heaven. And so the good news is He wins, and His presence is so powerful and wonderful and wholesome and stuff that it even transforms ugly old me. It's little but little, slow but slow, but it's real, and it's begun. And so be confident, my friend, that the good news hasn't been told yet wide and far as you need to tell it. In other words, you need to relay the part of the good news in your life to someone around you. And the way that I would kind of recommend is just think in terms of how would you rather be spoken to. In other words, if you had a real good friend, if you had someone who was close and knew you well and knew your weaknesses and knew your strengths, how would you like them to speak to you about what really matters? Well, then adopt that style. Try to be the friend that you'd want to have, because everybody wants a friend and everybody's really lonesome, but of course nobody will say so, because to say so means that I'm weak, and if I'm weak, well, then I lose, and if I lose, well, I can't go there. But none of that works with the gospel. The gospel is bigger than that and faster than that and runs circles around in the process. So be confident tonight on a Tuesday night. It may look like crazy pants weather out there with politics and with who knows what, and viruses coming in with the who knows where the WHO is going to go with all this. Who knows where the so-called Democrats are going to end up with this idiotic land they're building over there that nobody wants, not even them. But however crazy it gets, remember that the sanity of it all is that He has made you, He has called you to life through your parents, through physical birth. But then if you're a Christian, he's called you to life again in Messiah. He has given you a second start, a new beginning, a supernatural reboot. He's alive in you, and that didn't used to be the case. Your spirit is now woken up and in union with him. That didn't used to be the case. And there's many other wonderful changes occurring. But however that good news comes, to me, it just sounds like this. Man, am I glad you came, Lord Jesus. Wow. You are the best, man. I mean, seriously, if you, Lord Jesus, hadn't come down here to save us, I can't even imagine how bad this place would be. And I mean, as a non-believer, I didn't want to live here anyway because I thought it was pretty glum, pretty depressing, kind of a zoo for lunatics or whatever. But the idea is that he met me where I was, and he showed me a better way. And so in the better way, I have to admit, yes, there are crazy people. And yes, there are insane, wicked, depraved people. And yes, justice shall be done. They shall not get away with this forever. And part of the good news is, hang on, justice wins. And with force, and with evidence, and with reality, not merely intent of heart. No. The evil will be swept and broken and shattered forever. And this is part of the good news. We as the Christians, soldiers or witnesses, should be the ones out front saying that all of this wickedness, whether it's in high places or low, but especially in high, you beware, because the judgment of God comes against such things, and he will tear down all unrighteousness. It's going to happen. And we might live to see it too with our eyes. So there's some more good news. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to pass that on to you today. And I thought, after that episode about the Social Security Administration and the telephone call where I couldn't get through, boo-hoo. I thought, no, man, what this is about Jesus. So I just kind of wanted to get back to some of the central stuff that helps me go during the day when I begin to realize, God, this place is crazy. But he helps us through it, and he gives us a new beginning every day. God bless you. You guys have a good night, and sleep like a rock. Oh, by the way, last night I tried to sleep. I kept thinking like this. At some point, I almost have to go to sleep, don't I? And, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel grumpy about the fact that I couldn't sleep. I was just kept thinking, it's weird. Why do I not sleep? Here's what I was thinking. Maybe this has happened to you. I believe last night was a full moon, or the night before. I really don't know which was the full moon, but they both look pretty round to me. I've noticed this in the past, that on a full moon, forget about the idea of sleep. It just goes away. But it always surprises me every month, because at some full moons I can sleep through. Other full moons, no dice. I ain't sleeping at all. So if you're kept awake and you're sleepless, it's a reasonable enough excuse to go find a way to pray or listen to the Word. Be with your Lord when in the middle of the night when nobody else can interrupt you, because that's about the only time you're going to get together. Our world's just too darn busy. But have a good night, and sleep like a bag of bricks. I don't know. I've never seen a bag of bricks wake up, so maybe that's good. You have a good day. Bye-bye.